Now, I would like to call on stage Dr. Manoj Burgess, Officiating Director, XIME Kochi, to deliver the welcome speech. Dr. Burgess is also the Chief Mentor at Eastern Condiments Private Limited. He has close to about 2 decades of work experience, of which the last 10 years were with Facebook and Google at a director level before joining XIME.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Director XIME Bangalore, Professor Dr. Matthew Manimala, Director XIME Kochi, Dr. P. Amalnathan, distinguished speakers and panel members, Executive Committee members of NIPM, Kamal Krishna, Head of Times Group, Kerala, editorial team from Times of India, friends from media, XIME board members, delegates, faculty members, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to you all to engage the HR conference deliberating on employee engagement, trends, techniques and strategies. Your work is to discover your work and then with all your heart to give yourself to it, said Sri Buddha so many years back. One of the biggest challenges today is to capture the mind and heart of your employees and thus engage them in the workforce. XIME's mission is to provide students with world-class business education programs that are affordable, imaginative and relevant to the Indian business environment and ethos. Building great leaders is hence one of the key focus areas of XIME, and that is woven into our curriculum, how we do things and how we conduct ourselves. We are extremely proud to have NIPM as our partner here. In fact, we have been speaking with NIPM for the last 3 years, and we are really proud that we could finally organize a conference with the support of NIPM, all the executive committee members, the chairman and the secretary. Keeping this in mind, NIPM is striving to spread the message of professional management and human resource management and development. So it was really proud for us to collaborate with them on this conference. XIME Kochi's HR Club today, in partnership with NIPM and Times of India, is excited to have this opportunity to bring this HR conference to all of you. Now I turn to my present task of welcoming the distinguished Google, and currently he is the Director of Extended Workforce Solutions at Google. Before joining Google in August 2006, he was working as the Head Global Entry-Level Hiring, Campus Relations and HR Operations for Infosys Technologies Limited. In this era, I think he is probably the best person to give a keynote address on the topic of employee engagement, primarily because of the last 20 years of his career he spent with only 2 companies, which is very, very different from a lot of other professionals that you see, including myself. He is passionate about mentoring and career coaching and is active on both fronts. In addition to his role on the HR Program Committee of NASSCOM, he is on the Board of Management Studies of TFI Management Institute, Manipur. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Mr. D.N Prasad. Dr. J. Alexander, our own chairman, needs no introduction. He is a person who should take credit for what you see around us. He joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1963 and held top responsibility in various sectors like revenue administration, urban development, industry and commerce. After retiring as the Chief Secretary of the government in 1996, he got elected as a member of the Karnataka State Legislative Assembly and was a cabinet minister in Karnataka. As a successful bureaucrat and minister, he has touched many lives for the better, and we are proud to have him as our chairman. A charismatic leader and a dynamic administrator, our chairman has played a significant role in building XIME institutions all through the 3 cities that we have. Right from our early days, he has been a big supporter, advisor to our President, Professor J. Philip. Hearty welcome to you, sir, to this August gathering. Thank you for presiding our meeting. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Vijay Kumar. Mr. K.K. Vijay Kumar was earlier Head of Chief General Manager P&A, and now he is the Unit Head, Hindustan Organic Chemicals Limited Unit in charge in Kochi. He has a distinguished career as an HR professional and is very well known in the Kerala circle. As I said, the Kerala chapter under his leadership is growing leaps and bounds, and at this point in time, it's worthwhile to mention that NIPM Kerala chapter has been consecutively awarded as the best chapter in the country for the last 3 years. So welcome, sir. Anish Aravind, Honorary Secretary of NIPM, is a person who has established his credibility in many areas. Whether it's bird watching, cricket, tweeting, wherever you go, you see his name. Currently, he is a principal consulting of SS Consulting. Earlier, he was head of HR for Arbitron and was one of the earliest companies to come and set up their operations in Infopark and set HR practices which are very well known and number of case studies is written about them. So welcome Anish to this gathering. We have Dr. Manimala and Dr. P. Amalnathan. Dr. Matthew Manimala, distinguished professor at IIM Bangalore. After his retirement, we are happy to have him as the XIME Bangalore director, as well as the director of research for all XIME group of institutions. We have Dr. P. Amalnathan, who has been ably leading XIME Kochi for the last few years. So welcome, sirs, for this conference. We have a large number of people who have come here. Some of them have come yesterday. Some of them are arriving today as we speak. But we have a distinguished panel of great speakers with us today. So we welcome the moderators and the panel members who have taken time off their busy schedule and they have come here. At the same time, I want to welcome them all to this conference and to XIME Kochi. We have in our midst a large number of HR professionals, students, faculty members, our friends from other institutions who have taken time off on a second Saturday. I know it's not easy that you get very few holidays and second Saturday to come here. And as the last what I heard, I think we had over 100 registrations already and people are still trickling in. So we are really thankful for you for coming here and welcome to you all here for this conference. And I hope you have a fruitful day here. Welcome all. Welcome for our friends from the media. We have the editorial team from Times of India. We have a number of friends from media here. Welcome and hopefully you have a great time today.
Thank you, sir. Let me now take the opportunity to call upon Dr. J. Alexander, IAS retired, Chairman of XIME Kochi, for the inaugural address and declare the conference inaugurated. Dr. J. Alexander holds an MA in English from the Kerala University and a PhD in philosophy from Karnataka University. He has held top positions of responsibilities in various sectors like revenue administration, urban development, industry and commerce, finance, education to name a few. He also served as the Chief Executive of Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation. Post-retirement, he is actively involved in politics and joined Congress Party. He served for 5 years as the President of the District Congress Committee of Bangalore City and at present he is one of the Vice President of KPCC. Sir, please.
Good morning. Distinguished guests on the dais, conference open. So you are in a very important area of management wherever you are. While describing some of the positions that I held, the person who introduced me forgot to mention that I had an exposure to Department of Labour. I was the Labour Secretary of Karnataka State for 3 years, and that was the first time I was exposed to HR in a serious manner. And I am very happy to announce that the NIPM was started in Bangalore for Vijay Kumar to give useful information when I was Labour Secretary. It is not because of me, but there were a group of very active, dynamic HR people. The leader was one HR Alva. His initials were also HR. I don't know, maybe he was destined to be in HR. HR Alva, who was the HR manager of Indian Telephone Industries. It was 1980, 46 years back, that NIPM was started. I had some very interesting experiences which I will share with one or two of them I will share with you, which may be of some use to people who are in industrial relations. Now you don't talk about industrial relations anymore. Industrial relations problems are normally disputes, problems between management and labor. But there can be a situation when, particularly now, the conflict of interests are not between the interests of employee and employer. There is a third set of interests which come into this field. That is the interest of the trade unions. The trade unions are meant to act as a shield to protect the interest of the workers. But very often, they have the compulsions of survival make them safeguard their interests, which may not be in the interest of the workers and the management. This is one factor which people have to remember. I give the example of a very long drawn strike which happened during the time I was Labour Secretary in Bangalore. That may be a good lesson for people who are in the industrial relations. There is a particular moment in the process of a dispute which you have to seize, which you have to catch to find a solution. The public sector undertakings in the country, the major ones, the Hindustan Aircraft Limited, Indian Telephone Industries and HMT, Hindustan Machine Tools. These three public sector workers totaled about 110,000 people all over the country. And their union decided to go on a strike on the basis of a dispute on the interpretation of a clause. They wanted a dialogue with the government on interpretation, reopening the interpretation of a clause. And the government of India, Mrs. Gandhi was the Prime Minister. Mr. C.M. Stephen was the Communication Minister, who was one of the ministers who signed as a trade union leader, HMT. The trouble started from our neighboring HMT unit. He was the one who signed that agreement on behalf of the labour. But by the time the dispute started, he became the Communication Minister in the Government of India. The Labour Minister was Mr. N.D. Tiwari. I am just giving you some story. And Mrs. Gandhi told Stephen, you have created the problem in Kochi. Now in the Government of India you solve it. So they were also involved. He said, no dialogue. We will not reopen the issue of an interpretation. So they announced a strike. Those were days when Google was not there, Mr. Prasad was not there, computers were not there, only telephones. So the union leaders, though there were branches in other parts of the country, the union leaders decided to go on a indefinite strike until the Government of India agreed to have a negotiation on interpretation. Strike was announced, 110 workers to go on strike. All preparations were there. The strike was on a particular day to start at 10 o'clock. The previous day, at 3 o'clock, I got a message from the Government of India. Please call the union leaders and tell them that the Government of India has agreed to reopen the issue. Which means the main demand was conceded. I was happy that no problems. I called the union leaders and told them, I have a happy news for you. The Government of India has agreed to accept your demand for negotiating the dialogue on interpretation of a clause. The response of the union leaders was, sorry sir, the strike has to go on. Why? We have no time to inform the workers that your demand has been met. Therefore the strike has to go on. The strike went on. 1 month, 2 months, the workers got tired, all their bank balances were over, the ration shopkeepers refused to give them ration, the milkman would not deliver the milk, the newspapers, people would not give the newspapers, total confusion. 110,000 workers all over the country. They were pressurizing the union leaders. They came on their knees to the Government of India and said, now we are ready to open the dialogue. And then the Government of India said, no, we are not ready. I'm just giving you the story of a long drawn big strike which happened in India, involving 110,000 workers, and the strike went on for 4 months, and finally, without any conditions, the strike was withdrawn. The point that I was trying to make is, in the course of dealing with human beings, in the course of dealing with trade union leaders, as Manoj mentioned, it is an occasion for you to learn the art of finding the particular moment when you must strike and get a solution. But the challenges are now changing. Times have changed, situations have changed, technologies have changed. And today, an HR manager has the challenge of creating an atmosphere for workers to be engaged in a family atmosphere. You have to work with people from different cultural backgrounds. You have to work with people who are functioning in different time zones. You have to function with people who are using the latest technologies. And therefore, the people who are leading in the HR industry must be quick to adapt to the changes that are happening and be a very effective instrument of the progress of the company, and motivating all the people, balancing the skill gaps, giving training where training is required, and what shall I say, integrating the divisive management techniques with the ultimate strategies of development for the purpose of achieving the goals of the organization. Dear friends, I am very sure that this conference will be helpful to you, because people who are engaged in HR industry, people who have got long years of experience, will be sharing their knowledge and experiences with you, which will be a great benefit to you. I wish this seminar all success, and I, with great pleasure, declare this conference open. Thank you.
Chairman, NIPM Kerala chapter has more than 32 years of experience and was the Chief General Manager and currently the Unit Head of Hindustan Organic Chemicals Limited, a central public sector undertaking in Kerala. With great pleasure, let me call upon Mr. Vijay Kumar to speak a few words.
Good morning, Dr. D. Alexander, Mr. Prasad, beloved Dr. Madhu Menada, Shamlanathan, Matthew Manoj, and my dear friend Anish. I'm extremely happy to be with you for the commencement of this program. But before I go on to my assigned role of elucidating this, I will be failing in my duty if I add something more about NIPM than what has been told by Dr. Alexander and Manoj. NIPM is a premier body of people management professionals in the country, having more than 50 chapters all over the country. And Kerala chapter, as has been told by Mr. Manoj, is one of the most vibrant chapters of the whole of NIPM. Why are we vibrant? Our vibrancy lies in the factor that we have been associating with the young minds. We have been promoting this kind of activities amidst the business schools of Kerala. We interact with them, we always get the energy from them. There lies our vibrancy. We organize programs for the student community to invite them to the people management profession. I would like to take this opportunity to add what Dr. Alexander said about industrial legends. The current trend is most of the people are going to service industry in the HR faculty. I am a professional from the manufacturing sector. Out of my 35 years of professional experience, I have spent more than 3 decades in managing unions, managing people through them. what Dr. Alexander said, there is a key moment in every dispute which a successful people management professionals latches onto it and conclude the dialogue. If he fails to catch, that is a total failure on that issue. Probably if the unions have demanded X, he could settle at X minus 100 if you are able to latch on to that particular moment. If you miss that, that's the end of it. So it's very true of what Dr. Alexander said about. But this is an area which now, from my experience, people are shying away. Especially we in the public sector, where there is multitude of trade unions. But then it's a very challenging assignment. You really learn the trick of managing people. And be happy at the end of the day. I have no regrets in choosing this profession. Extremely happy. That is how I came into NIPM, where the whole body of people management professionals interact, develop strategies in dealing with people, and coming to a conclusion of the issues which we are facing every day. And the part of this only we have associated with XIME in organizing this program. We are extremely happy to be associated with XIME in doing this, and we have a distinguished panelists, moderators to take you through the employee engagement practices which are being done in the country. I will be failing in my duty if I don't say something about Dr. Bhathimanimala. He is a person who has started my management education. In fact, he took my first class for my MBA program. Now in his current field, he taught me business mathematics. Way back in 1979. Many of you may not have been born at that time. So, I'm extremely happy to share the dais with him. Let me say one thing about employee engagement. Employee engagement to me is what, if you are able to believe, enjoy what you do, that is engagement. A person who believes in what he does will be more productive, he will add value to the organization. More will be told with illustrations, with management practices being adopted by different organizations in the country and outside the country. On behalf of NIPM, I wish the conference all the success. And thank you, XIME, for giving NIPM an opportunity to carry forward our flagship programs of meetings young minds. Thank you.
Chief guest of the day, Mr. D.N Prasad, Chairman, XIME Kochi, Dr. Alexander, NIPM President, Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is a student of mine. It's very gratifying to see him doing all such great work. Mr. Anish, my colleagues Manoj and Amlanathan. It's a very, very pleasant for me to be here today, not only because of XIME, but also it evokes all the old memories of Kochi, where I spent a few years with Cochin University of Science and Technology. I started my career there. Of course, I was a student there, and as Vijay Kumar said, I also taught. At that time, I can't remember what I taught, but he says it was business mathematics. Maybe that is why he has left that field and went to industrial relations. And I also decided to leave it and move to OB and HR, entrepreneurship and all that. Anyway, both of us admitted like in the union government negotiation, finally I think in that case the government won, not that neither of us won. Here it is a case where nobody won that particular privilege. Now, this is a very, very gratifying occasion to see that at the initiative of XIME Kochi and Manoj and Navalanathan, that Hriday and NIPM collaborate in organizing this conference on employee engagement, which is a very, very important and relevant topic, as everyone knows. Our XIME President, Professor J. Philip, was to come and address you, but he was slightly indisposed, so he had to cancel his trip. But he sends his felicitations through me to you. So please accept his congratulations and felicitations on this occasion. Well, I don't need to say anything about employee engagement to this enlightened audience. In fact, I was just going through a statistics about employee engagement given by a worldwide survey, where they say the world average of engaged employees is only about 13%, 1-3. Most others are not engaged, but there are also people who are actively disengaged. Now this statistic is slightly better for the US, there it is 18%, but it is not very encouraging. So I think there are a lot of issues involved in order to make people engaged. We will discuss them in the session subsequently. So in the felicitation, I only want to alert you about the importance of this particular issue, and therefore right from the keynote address, in fact I preponed my felicitation to before this keynote, because after such an enlightened talk by a very distinguished executive, what is the need for another felicitation? And therefore I thought I could say something before he gives the keynote address. So following that, I think in the subsequent sessions, all these issues will be explained as to what is to be done in order to make employees engaged, which is a very, very critical thing. In this context, I remember a story about the Steve Ballmer, former president of Microsoft. He had a lot of oddities. He used to shout at people. In fact, they say he had a throat problem which required surgery after so much of shouting. And his office was in a corner. Nobody wanted to have an office near his office. He used to wield a racket in order to shout at people. He used to swim across cold water in order to show that he is capable of doing everything. And so many other kinds of oddities. But he was a very effective executive. And, one day he was addressing, he was to inaugurate the conference, developers conference, in the same company. So many developers were sitting, and he wanted to emphasize the importance of that. All that he said, his speech was to talk about, I think it was something to do with some 14 years or something like that. So he said developers 14 times. And that was the speech. So I would like to say employee engagement. Of course, I am a chronically bronchial patient. I won't be able to say it even 14 times, but I want to say it 14 times, 14,000 times. So this is the importance of employee engagement. Without their contribution, organizations will not be able to perform. So I once again congratulate the organizers for choosing this topic, and wish you a very, very enjoyable day. Thank you.
Mr. D.N Prasad worked as the head global entry-level hiring and campus relations for Infosys Technologies Limited. As already introduced by Dr. Manoj Varghese, his experience includes employee relations, immigrations and HR operations, all of which he handled at various points in time of his career with Infosys across India and United States. Mr. Prasad joined Google in 2006 and is now the Director and Global Head, Extended Workforce Solutions at Google. We now have Mr. D.N Prasad for the keynote address.
Thank you, and very good morning all of you. That's better. Can we do it once more? Can we go better on that? Good morning. Good morning. So now I know you're all engaged. Right. It's an absolute honor to be here. Manoj, thank you for the invitation. A privilege to be sharing the dais with all the distinguished guests here. A couple of years ago, I read this quote somewhere, a few years ago, and I've kind of made it a part of my own growth journey. And it goes something like this. So when is the last time you did something for the first time? So I repeat, when is the last time you did something for the first time? And I ask myself that question once in a while. It kind of came back to me this morning, and as I was thinking, when was the last time I did something for the first time, it occurred to me that it's the first time that I'm speaking at an HR conference in God's own country. So that's the challenge also lies in the fact that I'm opening the day with a keynote. Speaking about Google's a little bit like trying to give you or speak to people. Let me give you an example. Let me take a step back and give you an example. It's a little bit like peeping through the keyhole of a glass door. There's so much written about it. There's so much that you've read. Worst case, you can just Google it and you would know a lot more about Google. So what do I say? Let me start off by sharing a few personal examples. Something that I have experienced in the last couple of hours. So I was speaking to Dr. Alexander when he walked in. He had been informed that I'm from Bangalore, and there was that connection. So as we were speaking, he asked me about where I studied, and I said St. Joseph's Indian High School. I'm a proud Josephite. And his eyes lit up, and I knew the reason because he's an alum of the school as well. And as we were talking, Najapa came in, and Najapa, you'd hear from him later. He came in and said, I'm a Josephite too, which I knew. And there was an immediate connection, there's an immediate glint in the eye, there's some pride that happened, and that goes back to the pride that the Institute gave us, and that's because of engagement. If I look around the audience with the speaking guests, we have Alan from Infosys, we have Alan from Dell, we have Alan from Google, and I'm sure all of us were here only because of this gentleman sitting here, Manoj. One call here. Again, go back to the keyword, the engagement, the platform, and the relationship that some of these organizations gave us. Manoj spoke about two organizations that I work for, Infosys and Google. There was one more, with all due respect, I wouldn't name the organization. So I tell people my first job after MBA was Infosys, 7.5 years, and then I worked in this company for 7.5 weeks, and then Google, a proud decader and counting in Google. And the reason why I had 2 long stints and this really odd one in between was because of engagement or lack of it. So it does play a lot of a huge role. 2 things that go very deeply into engagement, something that I've seen as a common trend across the companies. One's gratitude and one's respect. I just wanted to start off expressing my gratitude to a couple of people here. I've followed Dr. Alexander's career very, very closely as I was growing up, as a role model. Did a lot for Bangalore as a state, so I think we need more of you in Bangalore today in its current situation. And Manoj, who was not only a senior colleague at Infosys but also my first manager. He did speak about 2 things when he was introducing me, that I started off in Google India, starting this Team Code programs. He hired me into Google. He forgot conveniently to mention that. And he said I was the founding member of the APAC HR leadership team. He was the founding father of that team. So let's give it. A lot of us have learned from a lot of people. It could be colleagues, friends, etc. So in this August gathering, I'd fail in my duties if I don't do this. So let's respect all the teachers in the room. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, and I'm doing all this with a purpose, because as I said, gratitude, respect plays a huge role in creating that sense of engagement in the communities that we are in. It could be institutes, it could be educational institutes, and what have you. Now that said, like I said, what do I talk about Google? We've also believed in Google that research trumps best practices. So here are a set of academicians, students who are researching about some of the best practices, some of what the people space can be, what else can happen in engagement, and we have a day-long sessions where we'll talk about this. So let me not share a sermon, let me not tell you what we should be doing, but let me just wear a practitioner's hat here and share a few things that we have done in Google that's kind of helped us over the years. Three things, and we've always maintained that we are an unconventional company and we would want to continue being one. So if I consider that as the heart of Google or the DNA of Google, what makes the heart of Google? There are three things that we do. We provide mission, we provide transparency, and we provide voice to Googlers. Let me talk a little bit about each one of them. You're talking about mission. We have 70,000 Googlers. I can guarantee you that unless and until it is something really big and legalese and where we will probably hear along with the rest of the world, as a Googler, I can be guaranteed that I'm hearing about the information before anybody else. There is immense trust that we place in Googlers. Will there be inadvertent leaks? Sometimes, yes. Have there been advertent leaks? Sometimes, yes. We do take care of that. We come back, tell Googlers what we have done, but also repeat the message that we will continue trusting them, and therefore, because of an incident here or there, we wouldn't stop sharing information. And voice. We do hire some incredibly smart people, and that's been the hallmark of Google success, one of the hallmark of Google success. And I share this in all humility. I meet at least one Googler every day who can make me feel inadequate. And that's a good position to be in because there's so much more that you can look forward to learn. And when you hire such brilliant people, not giving them a voice or not making them be part of the fabric, not making them feel and act as owners is a huge disservice that you're doing to your own organization. So we provide a voice. The culture of feedback is very strong, and that's one of the ways that we build the ownership, accountability, and make them feel like they actually are shaping the company because they are shaping the company. So mission, transparency, and voice forms the heart of what we do. Now this might sound like a bit of a broken record, but it all boils down to how we hire people. Because if we have to build the culture of the place, nurture the culture, strengthen it, it really is about every single person playing their role. So how do we make sure we're hiring people who can walk the talk when they come inside? So we're actually very anal in terms of how we hire people, very, very rigorous, and that's with a reason. The second one that we do is, as part of providing this voice that we were talking about, the two things that we do. One is make all people decisions data and analytics based, and we'll probably speak more about that in the session that I'm incidentally moderating in the afternoon. But we also make sure that the concept of hippos doesn't exist. Hippo stands for highly paid person in the room for an opinion. So we do not go to the senior most person for an opinion. It is a consensus-driven, collaborative decision-making process. There are two other aspects that we take care of very seriously when it comes to building the culture and engaging Googlers. One is the role of a manager. Again, something that I say quite often, being a manager in Google is really, really hard. It's probably one of the toughest jobs in the world because you are expected to be everything but a classical manager. We're a coach. We're somebody who deeply care for Googlers or our team members, both on the personal level and professional level. We should know what they're doing. We're expected to have a lot of domain expertise, but not micromanage, but be able to work alongside them, provide the vision, communicate clearly, help with their career development, so on and so forth. So everything but actually managing them. We don't even get to approve their leaves in Google. And there are two other things that we do. In my opinion, a masterstroke when it comes to how we make managers a part of growing this fabric is we have divested managers from two most
potential misuse areas, so they don't get to hire, they don't get to fire. What do I mean by that? Both hiring and performance management is a collaborative, consensus-driven decision-making process that we have. The managers play a role of facilitators in making this happen, but they don't have the ultimate decision-making prowess. Now, having taken care of the managers, the one other thing that we also focus on is the teams. Lately, we've been working a lot on what makes successful teams in Google. The topmost thing that comes out is how do we build psychological safety? And there are other elements that get added to it, but building psychological safety is possibly the most important thing when you have to engage a team and engage a Google. And I can share an example which occurred less than 24 hours ago. We've all seen and been following the US presidential elections. Obviously, as the country, each one of us would have our opinions, and it seems like it's a very divisive vote that happened in the result that came in. Incidentally, through the election process, what the presidential elect, Ms. Trump, has stood for has been kind of worrisome to some of the core values that we believe in, which is inclusivity. We have a lot of immigrant workers in Google, etc. And therefore, it was our decision, or it was our responsibility to go show solidarity and say that it is a democratic result. We'll respect it, but we'll also make sure that we work with the administration to ensure that we do everything right for the values that we stand for and the Googlers' heart. There was one member of the team in Singapore who walked up to me yesterday and said, look, I might or might not have voted for this gentleman, but my parents are from New Mexico. As a family, we are a Republican family. So I saw these emails coming out from the leadership. Does that mean something? So I just wanted to kind of come and check. And the first thing I told him is that the very fact that you have chosen to come to your director, speak about this so freely, shows the psychological safety that we have in the organization, and there's everything that we need to be proud of. So it's just a small example of how psychological safety is so important, that you have to provide that for people to come and talk about anything that they want. It's just not about work. It's about how they're feeling about something that's happened in their home country. So that's another thing that we take care of. And then, it again goes back to the role of the manager that we're talking about. So my ability in this case as a manager, as a leader of function, to handle this, provide comfort to the gentleman who came and spoke to me, was important. Building managerial capability and creating that role for managers in engagement is huge for us. One of the things as we work towards psychological safety and building manager capability is also to make sure that we are addressing unconscious or conscious bias. Conscious bias is easy. Unconscious bias is really hard, because you really have to help individuals go deeper within, reflect, appreciate their own standing of where the bias is coming in, and therefore be able to address that. A huge company-wide effort to bust the unconscious biases that we all have as individuals. So that's another huge focus area which directly impacts engagement. The way we treat people is a choice we make. Let me repeat that. The way we treat people is a choice we make. And that's in our hands. That's in our hands as leaders of the organization. That's in our hands as leaders of the function which shapes the culture of the organization. So I'd leave you all with that question to go back and think about it, create an impact in the respective organizations that we all represent. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day. Through the election process, what the presidential elect, Ms. Trump, has stood for has been kind of worrisome to some of the core values that we believe in, which is inclusivity. We have a lot of immigrant workers in Google, etc. And therefore, it was our decision, or it was our responsibility, to go show solidarity and say that it is a democratic result. We'll respect it, but we'll also make sure that we work with the administration to ensure that we do everything right for the values that we stand for and the Googlers' heart. There was one member of the team in Singapore who walked up to me yesterday and said, look, I might or might not have voted for this gentleman, but my parents are from New Mexico. As a family, we are a Republican family. So I saw these emails coming out from the leadership. Does that mean something? So I just wanted to kind of come and check. And the first thing I told him is that the very fact that you have chosen to come to your director, speak about this so freely, shows the psychological safety that we have in the organization, and that's everything that we need to be proud of. So it's just a small example of how psychological safety is so important, that you have to provide that for people to come and talk about anything that they want. It's just not about work. It's about how they're feeling about something that's happened in their home country. So that's another thing that we take care of. And it again goes back to the role of the manager that we're talking about. So my ability in this case as a manager, as a leader of function, to handle this, provide comfort to the gentleman who came and spoke to me, was important. Building managerial capability and creating that role for managers in engagement is huge for us. One of the things as we work towards psychological safety and building manager capability is also to make sure that we are addressing unconscious or conscious bias. Conscious bias is easy. Unconscious bias is really hard, because you really have to help individuals go deeper within, reflect, appreciate their own standing of where the bias is coming in, and therefore be able to address that. The huge company-wide effort to bust the unconscious biases that we all have as individuals. So that's another huge focus area which directly impacts engagement. As an organization in Google practice, shared my own personal examples, talking about gratitude, talking about respect, talking about hiring the right people, building the culture, mission, transparency, voice, role of a manager, role of teams. I will end by saying one thing, that the way we treat people is a choice we make. Let me repeat that. The way we treat people is a choice we make. And that's in our hands. That's in our hands as leaders of the organization. That's in our hands as leaders of the function which shapes the culture of the organization. So I'd leave you all with that question to go back and think about it, create an impact in the respective organizations that we all represent. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Mr. Arvind is a human resource management professional with over 17 years of experience.
Ceremony of the vote of thanks. Let me spend a minute or so on a theme which I picked up. I am picking collaboration as a word here, and I want to bring the whole thanks part of my speech by bringing the various levels of collaboration that are active as we are going about this conference. First of all, you heard about NIPM from at least two other people here. But you look at let me only talk about the collaboration that NIPM had actually put me into when I joined NIPM Kerala in 2008 when I came to Kerala. NIPM gave me the role to be the facilitator for campus and industry collaboration. And that role I've now handed over to somebody here. Jolly is sitting right here. Glad that you're able to join us, Jolly. And that is the role that our chairman also explained, gave me the opportunity to interact with a lot of eminent faculty members and see that the practices and the practitioners and academicians and who are the people in between the students and who would end up becoming the future managers, they get the best of both worlds. And I'm really glad that this collaborative impact is taken ahead by XIME, and special thanks to Manoj for bringing this all things together. Now, Manoj and me go back from 1990 when he was a senior of mine at school, and from that time I've taken him as a kind of a mentor for the career that I've taken. So first of all, thanks Manoj for getting this, the platform for this collaborative effect with NIPM and XIME, and looking forward to many more such events in future. Dr. Alexander, special thanks to you for bringing out the collaborative effect again and gracing the occasion and inaugurating the function. Thank you, sir. My chairman and a senior mentor in NIPM, Mr. K.K. Vijaykumar, thank you, sir, for taking time out and explaining the connection and again bringing out the collaborative spirit. Thank you, sir. My good friend Prasad, we've interacted through conferences from SHRM, Tech HR, and who best to listen to on engagement to start off with than somebody who's been part of a company which is always in the top 5 in any rankings on engagement. So thank you, Prasad, for being here and giving us or setting off or teeing off the conference in the style that Google can do. Thank you. Dr. Manimala, I have not had the luck to be able to listen to more of your speeches, so I wish you would be giving us much more. I know I've heard a lot about you from my seniors in IPM and the other management professionals. So thank you for the special address and being here to grace the occasion, sir. It's been over a month or so that the students and the HR, I remember being one of the special guests at the inauguration of the first ever HR club about 3 years back. So the special thanks to the HR Uday team and the entire XIME group to come up with such an idea and put this conference in place. A word to all the industry delegates who have come here, and this is looking forward to the partnership on it, because our world is going through, or the Kerala scene here in terms of say workplace management, it's going through a sea of changes. You look at different industries, so there's labor, this is I think this conference is a very opportune moment to see what are the better things that we can do on these lines across industries. And I got to see a list of the participants, and I could see that we are represented across the industries, manufacturing, IT, services, all of them. So special thanks to all of you for coming here, and look forward to a great interactive session on this conference, and have a great day ahead. Thank you, one and all.